Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and Unveiled 5 children.
Meghan Markle, Prince Archie, and Princess Lilibet are reuniting with King Charles right.
The things that Harry is doing, which is a direct influence or,
Breaking today, what was supposed to be a quiet family reunion has exploded into one of the most talked about royal stories of the year. Reports claiming that King Charles privately welcomed Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, Prince Archie, and Princess Lilibet to Highgrove House have triggered a storm of speculation across Britain and beyond. The palace described it as a private family gathering, yet within hours the details had spread across newspapers, television broadcasts, and social media around the world. That contradiction alone has left many royal watchers asking one simple question.
Case, and I remember the judge warning all of them, saying, if any of you lose, you all lose.
On the monarchy, because the king is still kind of supporting Harry. I think it's...
If the meeting was truly private, how did everyone seem to know about it so quickly? For years, the relationship between the Sussexes and the royal family has been defined by interviews, documentaries, legal battles, and public disagreements. Every new development has been analyzed from every possible angle, making trust one of the rarest commodities surrounding the family. Because of that history, even what appears to be a simple reunion immediately became something much bigger. According to reports, the meeting took place at Highgrove House, King Charles's private Gloucestershire residence.
And it wasn't just Harry, that's important to also notice, right, John? Elton John, Liz Hurley.
Also the reality this week that by coming into the country and by bringing Meghan and...
Unlike official royal engagements, there were no photographers waiting outside, no ceremonial welcomes, and no public appearances afterward. Palace officials reportedly made it clear that no photographs would be released and that no further details would be shared because it was considered a private family occasion. On the surface, that sounds straightforward. A grandfather spending time with his son and grandchildren is hardly extraordinary. But the public reaction showed just how much confidence has been lost after years of royal controversy. Many observers immediately noticed what they believed was the first inconsistency. Before the meeting had even concluded, news organizations across both the United Kingdom and the United States were already reporting that Harry and Meghan had reunited with the king.
The children in, potentially, if we actually believe it, because we can't trust a thing that...
A lot of people were seeking damages against these Associated Newspapers Limited to sort of win this big...
Television panels began debating the significance of the visit, while commentators questioned how information from such a tightly controlled gathering had reached the outside world so quickly. That alone fueled countless theories. Some believed palace officials intentionally confirmed the meeting to prevent misinformation from spreading. Others argued someone close to the Sussexes may have wanted the reunion known without revealing any personal details. Still others suggested the truth could lie somewhere in between. At this stage, none of those explanations have been officially confirmed, leaving the debate wide open. Regardless of who informed the media, one thing became obvious almost immediately. What should have been remembered as a personal family reunion had instead become another public spectacle. Supporters viewed the meeting as an encouraging sign that fractured relationships might finally be improving. Critics saw something entirely different. They questioned whether years of accusations against the monarchy had suddenly been forgotten simply because another private meeting had taken place behind palace walls. That divide has become one of the defining characteristics of every Harry and Meghan story. Rarely does the public agree on what any event actually means. Some commentators argued that King Charles was simply acting as a father and grandfather, placing family ahead of public controversy. Others wondered whether welcoming Harry back so soon after several highly publicized disputes could send mixed signals about accountability within the royal family.
This was sort of something that had been said pretty early on, and also warning this could be very costly if you lose.
That by doing that, Harry has just completely undermined the argument that he...
Questions became even louder because of timing. The reported reunion arrived shortly after Prince Harry's latest legal setback in Britain. Following years of courtroom battles involving newspaper publishers and privacy claims, the Duke once again found himself making headlines for legal reasons rather than charitable work. While the details of those cases are complex, many commentators believed the difficult legal period added another layer of significance to the king's decision to receive his son. To some observers, it looked like compassion during a difficult moment. To others, it appeared surprisingly generous considering the public criticism Harry has directed toward royal institutions over recent years. Those competing interpretations dominated television discussions throughout the day. Several royal commentators noted that King Charles occupies two very different roles simultaneously. On one hand, he is the monarch responsible for protecting the stability of the crown. On the other, he is a father whose relationship with his younger son has been under enormous strain. Balancing those responsibilities has never been easy. Every gesture is interpreted politically, emotionally, and symbolically all at once. That explains why even something as ordinary as sharing tea inside a country residence quickly became international news. Meanwhile, another detail caught widespread attention. Reports indicated that Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet had accompanied their parents for the reunion. If accurate, it would mark one of the very few opportunities the king has had to spend time with his youngest grandchildren in recent years. For many people, that was the most important part of the story. Regardless of disagreements between adults, children inevitably become part of the wider conversation whenever family relationships break down. Some viewers argued that grandchildren should never be separated from grandparents because of disputes among parents. Others insisted that those decisions belong entirely to the children's parents. As expected, social media split almost instantly into opposing camps. One group celebrated what they hoped represented the beginning of reconciliation. Another questioned whether genuine trust could exist after years of public interviews, best-selling memoirs, and documentary series criticizing the royal family. Those doubts only intensified because of the strict conditions reportedly surrounding the visit.
Because you got to pay everybody's lawyers, etc., etc. So now it's come.
They say, P. Diner, we've got to wait until we see it with our own eyes. But there is the argument, which is...
According to multiple reports, there were no official photographs, no public statements beyond basic confirmation, and no additional information released afterward. Palace sources emphasized that it had been handled as a private family gathering. Ironically, those very efforts to preserve privacy encouraged even more speculation. When information is limited, people naturally begin filling the gaps with their own theories. Across YouTube, podcasts, newspapers, and online forums, countless explanations emerged. Some suggested the meeting represented the first step toward rebuilding damaged relationships. Others believed it was simply a one-time family visit with no broader significance. A few commentators even argued it could have been designed as a test of whether future private meetings could remain confidential. None of those interpretations have been confirmed. Yet they illustrate just how deeply divided public opinion has become whenever the Sussexes and the royal family are involved. Another issue also resurfaced almost immediately. For years, Prince Harry has argued that security concerns make returning to Britain with his wife and children extremely difficult. His legal challenges over security arrangements have remained one of the most prominent aspects of his relationship with the British government. Because of that history, reports suggesting Meghan and the children had now visited the United Kingdom caused fresh debate. Some commentators argued the visit demonstrated that suitable arrangements could be made for private family occasions. Others cautioned that one successful visit does not necessarily resolve wider security concerns, especially since the circumstances surrounding any private gathering may differ significantly from public engagements. Again, the same event produced two completely different narratives. While one side viewed it as evidence that tensions were easing, the other questioned whether previous claims about security had now become harder to explain. Throughout the coverage, one theme kept repeating itself: trust. After years of competing interviews, anonymous sources, documentaries, memoirs, and public disagreements, many people no longer know which version of events deserves their confidence. Every new report is immediately met with skepticism. Every official statement is examined for hidden meaning. Every silence becomes its own headline. That atmosphere has transformed even routine family interactions into major international stories. Perhaps that is the biggest lesson from this latest reunion. If the same meeting had taken place 10 years ago, it likely would have been remembered simply as grandparents spending time with grandchildren.
Spent months making that the country is too unsafe for his...
Today, every handshake, every conversation, and every reported visit carries enormous symbolic weight because of everything that has happened before. Whether this meeting ultimately represents genuine reconciliation or merely a temporary pause in years of public conflict remains impossible to say. What is certain is that the story has reopened difficult questions about loyalty, trust, privacy, and the future direction of the royal family. And if this gathering was intended to calm public speculation, it may have achieved the exact opposite. Instead of ending the conversation, it has only created a new wave of questions. Questions that neither Buckingham Palace nor the Sussexes appear eager to answer. As more details continue to emerge, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. This private reunion may have lasted less than an hour, but its impact on public debate could continue for weeks to come. As the conversation surrounding the reunion continued to dominate headlines, another issue quickly moved to the center of public debate, and this time, it wasn't about family relationships. It was about timing. Only days before reports of the private meeting emerged, Prince Harry had once again been making news because of his legal battles in Britain. Years of lawsuits against sections of the British press have placed him at the center of one of the country's most closely watched legal sagas. Supporters argue that he has been standing up against unlawful media practices, while critics believe the repeated courtroom fights have damaged both his public image and his relationship with institutions back home. That backdrop made the reported meeting with King Charles impossible to separate from everything happening outside palace walls. For some commentators, the king's decision to receive Harry during such a turbulent period reflected nothing more than a father's instinct to support his son. Family, they argued, should not depend on courtroom victories or defeats. Others disagreed. They questioned whether extending another olive branch immediately after months of public criticism directed toward royal institutions risked sending the wrong message, not only to the public but also to those working inside the monarchy. It became another example of how every royal decision now carries consequences far beyond the family itself. Several constitutional experts and royal commentators even raised broader questions about Prince Harry's continuing constitutional position. Although he no longer serves as a working royal, Harry still occupies certain places within Britain's constitutional framework, including his position in the line of succession. That reality has prompted recurring debates about whether someone who has publicly criticized aspects of the monarchy should continue to hold those roles. Those discussions are not new, but the latest reunion brought them back into public view almost overnight. Some argued that family reconciliation should never be confused with constitutional responsibility. Others insisted the two cannot realistically be separated when the individuals involved belong to one of the world's most famous royal institutions. The disagreement reflected a much larger question that has followed the Sussex story for years. Where does private family life end, and where does public duty begin? For ordinary families, disagreements often remain behind closed doors. For the royal family, even private conversations can have constitutional implications simply because of who they are. That is why this meeting attracted such extraordinary attention despite lasting, according to reports, less than an hour. Meanwhile, another discussion gained momentum online. Many commentators pointed out that Harry has repeatedly described Britain as presenting significant security challenges for his family. His concerns over publicly funded police protection have formed the basis of lengthy legal proceedings and numerous public statements.
Even being made by the mainstream media, by the way, because I'm going to show you Kate Mansi and Roy Anika of the Times and the Sunday Times respectively.
Because of that history, reports that Meghan and the children had traveled to Britain immediately prompted fresh questions. Some observers suggested the visit demonstrated that private arrangements could successfully address security concerns. Others argued that comparing one carefully managed family gathering with wider public security arrangements was unfair, noting that different situations naturally involve different levels of risk. Neither side appeared willing to change its position. Supporters maintained that Harry's concerns had always related to official security protections rather than the possibility of making any visit at all. Critics countered that the reported trip inevitably complicated the broader narrative surrounding those legal arguments. As expected, social media transformed the disagreement into yet another fiercely divided debate. But perhaps the most emotional conversation centered on family itself. Many viewers focused less on constitutional questions and more on what the reported reunion meant for King Charles personally. The king's health has remained an ongoing subject of public concern, making any opportunity to spend time with family particularly significant in the eyes of many supporters. Commentators from across the political spectrum acknowledged that regardless of public disagreements, moments between grandparents and grandchildren carry emotional weight that extends beyond headlines. That perspective encouraged some people to view the reunion as a hopeful step rather than another controversy. Others remained cautious. Years of public accusations, television interviews, documentaries, memoirs, and legal disputes have left deep scars within the royal family. Trust, once broken, is rarely restored overnight. Several royal experts noted that rebuilding relationships often happens quietly, through repeated private conversations rather than dramatic public gestures. If reconciliation is genuinely underway, they argued, it is unlikely to unfold in front of television cameras. Ironically, that may explain why the palace chose to release so few details. Silence can sometimes protect fragile conversations far better than publicity ever could. Yet in today's media environment, silence often creates even more speculation. Without photographs, official statements, or detailed explanations, online discussions quickly filled the information vacuum. Some interpreted the lack of publicity as proof that everyone involved wanted to keep the meeting genuine and personal. Others believed the secrecy itself made the story appear even more suspicious. Neither interpretation can currently be confirmed. What is certain is that public trust remains deeply divided. The story also revived another recurring criticism aimed at both Harry and Meghan. Since stepping back as senior working royals, the couple have repeatedly emphasized their desire for privacy while simultaneously participating in high-profile interviews, documentaries, podcasts, and book projects. Supporters argue those projects simply allowed them to tell their own story after years of intense media scrutiny. Critics believe the contrast between requesting privacy and sharing personal family experiences publicly has weakened their credibility. Because of that history, some commentators questioned whether details from the reported reunion would eventually become public through future interviews or media projects. There is currently no evidence that will happen. Even so, the possibility alone became another source of debate. Several royal commentators suggested this gathering could quietly become an important test. If every participant respects the privacy surrounding the meeting, it may help rebuild confidence for future family conversations. If private details later emerge publicly, however, trust could become even more difficult to restore. That possibility explains why so many observers believe this reunion carries significance far beyond a single afternoon at Highgrove. For King Charles, maintaining family relationships while protecting the institution of the monarchy remains one of the greatest balancing acts of his reign. For Prince Harry, repairing personal relationships without reopening old wounds presents an equally difficult challenge. And for Meghan, every appearance connected to the royal family continues to generate extraordinary public attention regardless of whether she speaks publicly or remains completely silent. Perhaps that is the most remarkable aspect of this entire story. No speeches were delivered. No official photographs were released. No major announcements were made. Yet one private meeting became one of the biggest international royal stories of the week. That alone demonstrates how much public fascination still surrounds the Sussexes and the future of the royal family. Whether this reunion ultimately marks the beginning of genuine reconciliation, or simply another chapter in an already complicated relationship, remains impossible to know. But one thing has become increasingly obvious. The next move from either side will be watched more closely than ever before. Because after years of public conflict, every quiet gesture now carries as much significance as the loudest headline. As public debate intensified, another question quietly began dominating online discussions. If this reunion really was about healing old wounds, what happens next? For years, Prince Harry has described his relationship with the royal family as deeply fractured. His interviews, memoir, and documentary projects painted a picture of mistrust, emotional distance, and unresolved conflict. Meghan also spoke publicly about her own difficult experiences, arguing that life inside the institution came with pressures few outsiders could fully understand. Because of those statements, many people were surprised that a private reunion reportedly took place at all. Some interpreted the meeting as proof that, despite years of public disagreement, family bonds had not been completely broken. Others believed it was simply a practical decision with no deeper meaning. Until either side chooses to speak publicly, both interpretations remain speculation. Still, the timing encouraged countless theories. Royal commentators noted that the monarchy is entering a period of transition unlike any seen in decades. King Charles continues carrying out his constitutional duties while also managing personal health challenges. Prince William is increasingly taking on a larger public role, and the institution itself faces growing pressure to modernize without losing public confidence. Against that backdrop, every family interaction inevitably carries symbolic importance. Many observers believe the king understands that history often remembers gestures of reconciliation more kindly than years of public conflict. Whether this meeting reflects a genuine attempt to rebuild trust or simply a father welcoming his son remains unknown, but its symbolism cannot easily be ignored. Meanwhile, another comparison repeatedly surfaced throughout media coverage. While headlines focused almost entirely on Harry and Meghan's reported visit, Prince William and Princess Catherine continued attending public engagements with little fanfare. Supporters of the Prince and Princess of Wales pointed to that contrast as evidence of two very different approaches to public life. One side remained focused on official duties, charitable work, and long-term projects. The other continued generating headlines through personal controversies and ongoing public debate. Whether that comparison is entirely fair depends on perspective, but it has become an increasingly common narrative within royal commentary. Public opinion surveys over recent years have consistently shown changing attitudes toward different members of the royal family, and commentators frequently reference those shifts when discussing future leadership. Even so, many experts caution against assuming temporary headlines accurately predict long-term public opinion. Royal history has repeatedly shown that public sentiment can change dramatically over time. Another topic also returned to the spotlight: trust. According to several commentators, trust has become the single most valuable currency within the royal family, and perhaps the hardest to rebuild. Years of leaked stories, anonymous briefings, televised interviews, and conflicting narratives have left many relationships under enormous strain. That is why several royal experts believe this reported meeting may have been as much about observing future behavior as discussing the past. If private conversations remain private, confidence could slowly begin returning. If details eventually emerge through unofficial sources or future media projects, rebuilding that confidence may become far more difficult. At present, there is no evidence that confidential information from the reported meeting has been disclosed beyond the basic confirmation that it occurred. Nevertheless, the conversation has already highlighted just how fragile public trust remains. The discussion also extended beyond Britain. International audiences, particularly in the United States, continue following every development involving Harry and Meghan with enormous interest. Since relocating to California, the couple have built professional lives outside traditional royal duties through media partnerships, charitable initiatives, speaking engagements, and commercial projects. Supporters view those ventures as examples of independence. Critics argue they have struggled to establish a public identity separate from their royal connections. That disagreement resurfaced once again following reports of the reunion. Some commentators suggested renewed family contact could improve future relations while allowing everyone involved to move beyond years of conflict. Others questioned whether the Sussexes can ever fully separate their public careers from royal headlines, given that global fascination with their lives remains closely tied to their connection with the monarchy. It is a question that has no simple answer. The royal family itself also faces difficult choices. Completely shutting the door on reconciliation could appear unnecessarily harsh. Opening that door too widely could expose the institution to renewed controversy if old disputes return. Finding the balance between compassion and constitutional responsibility has become one of King Charles's greatest challenges. Perhaps that explains why the palace has remained so restrained in its public communication. Rather than encouraging further headlines, officials have largely allowed the meeting to speak for itself. That silence, however, has done little to slow public curiosity. Every hour without additional information has inspired fresh theories across television, newspapers, podcasts, and social media platforms. Some discussions have focused on constitutional questions. Others have centered entirely on family relationships. Still others have examined how public perception continues evolving after years of unprecedented royal drama. Yet beneath all those debates lies a much simpler reality. At its heart, this story involves a father, a son, and grandchildren whose relationships have unfolded under extraordinary public scrutiny. Very few families experience disagreements on such an international stage. Every private decision becomes public analysis. Every family visit becomes global news. Every gesture is interpreted through political, emotional, historical, and media lenses all at once. That burden is unique to the modern monarchy. Whether this reported reunion ultimately becomes remembered as the beginning of lasting reconciliation or merely another brief pause in an ongoing family conflict will depend entirely on what happens next. For now, neither Buckingham Palace nor the Sussexes appear eager to expand upon the story. And perhaps that silence says more than any public statement could. Because after years of documentaries, interviews, memoirs, legal disputes, and competing narratives, actions may now carry far greater weight than words. If future meetings quietly continue without controversy, public opinion could gradually shift toward optimism. If fresh disagreements quickly return to the headlines, many observers will conclude that little has truly changed. Only time will reveal which path this family ultimately follows. Until then, one private afternoon at Highgrove has accomplished something few expected. It has reminded the world that despite years of division, speculation, and controversy, the story of Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the royal family remains far from over. And as millions continue watching every development, one truth has become impossible to ignore. Sometimes the biggest royal headlines are not created by grand ceremonies or balcony appearances, but by the meetings that happen quietly behind closed doors, where no cameras are allowed, no speeches are delivered, and every unanswered question becomes part of the story itself. Yet even after all the headlines, heated television debates, and endless online speculation, one question continues to overshadow everything else. Can this family actually move forward? That answer doesn't depend on what commentators think. It doesn't depend on viral posts or opinion columns. It depends entirely on what happens behind closed doors, far away from cameras and microphones. For King Charles, the challenge has never been simply welcoming his son home. It has been protecting the stability of the monarchy while trying to preserve whatever remains of a deeply strained family relationship. For Prince Harry, the challenge is equally complicated. He has spent years explaining why he felt forced to step away from royal life. Through interviews, documentaries, his memoir, and multiple legal battles, he has shared his version of events with the world. Those decisions earned praise from supporters who believed he was finally telling his truth, but they also created lasting damage with many members of the royal family and sections of the British public. That is why every future interaction now carries extraordinary significance. If private conversations remain private, if trust slowly begins returning, if both sides avoid reopening old wounds through public statements, then perhaps this meeting could eventually be remembered as the first genuine step toward repairing one of the most public family disputes in modern royal history. But there is another possibility. Critics argue that years of conflict cannot simply disappear after one afternoon together. They point to previous moments when optimism appeared to be growing, only for fresh interviews, documentaries, or legal disputes to reopen divisions all over again. Because of that history, many royal observers remain cautious. Hope exists. Confidence does not. The palace itself appears to understand that reality. Rather than celebrating the reported reunion with carefully staged photographs or emotional statements, officials have maintained remarkable discipline. Very little has been said beyond confirming that the gathering took place. That restraint may prove to be one of the most important parts of the entire story. Sometimes saying less prevents creating even bigger headlines. Whether everyone involved continues showing that same restraint in the weeks ahead remains to be seen. Meanwhile, another issue continues quietly shaping public opinion: the future of the monarchy itself. King Charles inherited the throne during one of the most challenging periods in modern royal history. Public expectations have changed dramatically. Social media ensures every royal appearance is analyzed within seconds. Rumors spread globally before official statements are even released. Maintaining public confidence has become more difficult than ever before. Against that backdrop, family disagreements no longer remain private matters. They influence how millions of people view the institution itself. That explains why discussions surrounding this reported reunion quickly expanded beyond Harry and Meghan. Many commentators began asking what role Prince William may eventually play in managing future family relationships once he becomes king. Others wondered whether reconciliation today could make future transitions inside the monarchy smoother. Those questions remain unanswered. What is clear, however, is that the next chapter of this story will likely be written not by dramatic interviews, but by quiet decisions made over months, or even years. Will more private meetings follow? Will communication between father and son continue? Will trust slowly rebuild, or will another controversy push both sides further apart? Right now, nobody outside the family truly knows. And that uncertainty is exactly why public fascination remains so intense. Throughout this entire saga, one lesson keeps repeating itself. The royal family has always lived in the spotlight. But today's spotlight is different. Every photograph becomes evidence. Every silence becomes a theory. Every family visit becomes an international headline. In that environment, even ordinary human moments are transformed into global events. Perhaps that is why this reported reunion has resonated with so many people. Strip away the titles, the palaces, and the constitutional debates, and what remains is something universally familiar: a family trying to navigate years of misunderstanding, disappointment, and emotional distance. Whether reconciliation is ultimately possible is something only those involved can answer. The public can speculate. Commentators can analyze. Social media can debate endlessly. But the real story is unfolding somewhere far away from television studios and internet comment sections. Until more official information becomes available, much of what continues circulating online should be treated carefully. Verified facts, informed analysis, personal opinions, and unconfirmed rumors often become mixed together, making it increasingly difficult to separate one from the other. That is why responsible reporting matters. Facts deserve to stand on their own. Claims require evidence. and speculation should always remain speculation unless independently confirmed. For now, the confirmed picture remains relatively simple. A private family meeting reportedly took place. The palace described it as a personal gathering. No official photographs were released. No detailed statement followed. Everything beyond those basic facts continues to be interpreted through different perspectives. Whether this meeting becomes remembered as the beginning of a new chapter, or simply another brief pause in a long-running royal conflict, will depend entirely on what comes next. One conversation cannot erase years of disagreement. One afternoon cannot instantly rebuild broken trust. But sometimes history changes through quiet moments rather than dramatic announcements. As the world waits for the next development, one thing is beyond dispute. The story of King Charles, Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the future of the royal family continues to captivate millions across the globe. Every decision they make will be examined, every appearance will generate fresh debate, and every silence will invite new questions. Only time will reveal whether this reported reunion was the first page of reconciliation, or simply another unforgettable chapter in one of the most closely watched family stories of our time. And until that answer arrives, the world will keep watching. But perhaps the biggest mistake anyone can make is assuming this story is already over. Royal history has a way of reminding us that the most important moments rarely happen in front of television cameras. They happen behind closed doors, during conversations the public never hears, and decisions that aren't announced until months, or sometimes years, later. By the time those decisions become public, the real turning point has often already passed. That is exactly why this reported meeting has captured so much attention. It isn't simply because Harry and Meghan may have spent time with King Charles. It is because millions of people believed this meeting could reveal the direction of the royal family's future. Was it nothing more than a father welcoming his son home for a private conversation? Or was it the first cautious step toward rebuilding relationships that many thought were beyond repair? Right now, nobody outside that room can answer those questions with certainty. One thing, however, is impossible to ignore. The monarchy is entering one of the most significant transitions in its modern history. King Charles continues to balance his constitutional responsibilities while facing personal health challenges. Prince William is taking on an increasingly prominent role as the future king. At the same time, Harry and Meghan remain among the most recognizable public figures in the world, even after stepping away from royal duties. Whether people support them or criticize them, every move they make still generates worldwide headlines. That alone demonstrates how powerful the royal story remains. Yet fame does not automatically restore trust. Trust is built slowly. It returns through consistency rather than headlines, through quiet actions rather than dramatic speeches. And perhaps that is the real test facing everyone involved. If this reunion truly was intended to open a new chapter, the next few months may prove far more important than the meeting itself. There will be no shortage of opportunities for speculation, anonymous reports, and sensational headlines. The real question is whether any of those distractions will be allowed to undo whatever progress may have been made in private. For King Charles, history will likely judge not only the decisions he made as monarch but also the compassion he showed as a father. Those two responsibilities do not always point in the same direction, and balancing them may become one of the defining challenges of his reign. For Prince Harry, the path forward appears equally complicated. He has spent years explaining why he believed leaving royal life was necessary. He has also spoken openly about wanting reconciliation with members of his family. Achieving both goals at the same time has proven extraordinarily difficult. If genuine reconciliation is still possible, it will almost certainly require patience from everyone involved. Not days, not weeks, perhaps even years. And then there is the public. Over the past several years, royal supporters, critics, journalists, commentators, and social media users have all formed strong opinions about this family. Every new development is immediately viewed through those existing beliefs. That makes changing public perception incredibly difficult, regardless of what actually happens behind palace walls. Sometimes a single headline can shape opinion for months. Other times, years of quiet progress receive almost no attention at all. That is why this story remains so fascinating. Everyone is watching the same events, but not everyone sees the same story. Some see a father extending forgiveness. Others see careful royal strategy. Some see hope. Others see caution. And until more verified information becomes available, those different interpretations will continue existing side by side. Perhaps the greatest lesson from this entire saga is that even the world's most famous family faces challenges that many people can recognize. Misunderstandings, distance, broken communication. The difficulty of rebuilding trust after painful words have been spoken. Those struggles are not unique to royalty. What is unique is experiencing them while the entire world watches. Every family has disagreements. Very few have theirs debated across international television, newspaper front pages, podcasts, and millions of social media accounts every single day. As the dust begins to settle, the headlines will eventually fade. New stories will replace old ones. Another royal engagement will take place. Another public appearance will dominate the news cycle. But the relationships behind these headlines will continue long after today's controversy disappears. And perhaps that is the part worth remembering. Because long after the speculation ends, long after the comment sections move on, and long after today's breaking news is forgotten, what will ultimately matter is not who won the latest public debate. It will be whether a family found a way to heal, or whether years of division became too difficult to overcome. Until then, the questions remain. Will this reported reunion become the moment historians look back on as the beginning of reconciliation? Or will it simply become another chapter in a story defined by missed opportunities and unresolved tensions? Only time will provide that answer. For now, all anyone can do is separate confirmed facts from speculation, watch carefully as events unfold, and remember that history is rarely written in a single afternoon. Sometimes the quietest meetings leave the loudest echoes. And if this gathering truly marked the start of something bigger, then today's headlines may be remembered not as the ending of one royal story, but as the beginning of an entirely new one.